Welcome back to Inspector Toolbelt Talk. And, sometimes we have an episode that we just say, hey, this would be a cool episode. But sometimes we have an episode where multiple people will ask us for a follow-up or more information or just specifically request an episode. So today is that kind of episode. We have Jason Bowings with us again, which I'm thrilled about. Me and him could talk all day about just about anything online here. But we mentioned in our last podcast together Google local service ads and how they are just rocking it right now. So, Jason, thank you for coming back and being willing to talk about this.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here, and I think this is going to be excellent information for the listeners.
It's funny because you said on your last podcast, I work for a company already. I do not run Google Ads myself, and still, you did such an amazing job of explaining things last time. I think my phone just blew up until it died. People asking me for your information. You're a popular dude right now. Everybody wants to know you.
I appreciate that. It's certainly because home inspectors and other small service businesses are underrepresented in digital marketing. Digital companies, they charge a lot to start. They charge management fees. Some of them want you to spend X amount because their fee is based on what you spend. And that's not conducive to a small business. And most of the home inspectors I've worked with in the past were solo or maybe, 2 or 3 person companies, which is fairly small. I do work with or have worked with multi-inspector firms, but it's the same process, just more of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I guess that's why we appreciate having you on here, because you bring the big business skill to the small business world. And I think that is a good way to say it. Our industry is underrepresented online. Everybody tries to bust into the market and say, we're going to do Google ads for you. But it's really hard to run a Google ad business with smaller companies like home inspection companies. Even if you're like 5, 6 inspectors or, even more, you need to have a really large ad budget. You need to have a lot of search volume. We were talking about that earlier. There has to be enough people searching for home inspections in your area. Whole bunch of other factors. So to have someone on your level explain some of this stuff to us is really awesome. And I kind of nerd out on it like you do. I think it's a lot of fun.
I try to keep a good balance because, I can get into the numbers, I can get into the metrics, and I can dig so far down that I lose the thread. People aren't listening anymore. They don't care about that. They just want to know how it can work for their business. But you and I held you up just getting this thing recorded because we were talking so much.
No. Like I said, I nerd out on this all the time. We were talking, this is a complete random side point, but we were talking about search volume. So I work in the SEO world. Jason works with pay-per-click ads. They're 2 halves of one whole, which is somebody goes online and looks for a service. They're either going to click on an ad or they're going to find someone organically. So we work in 2 halves of the same whole. Oftentimes we'll have clients come to us, Ian, I haven't had anybody from my website. Jason, I haven't had anybody hire me from my ads. Mm-hmm. And we were just talking beforehand. You can change your lure, you can change your fishing pole, you can change all your methods, but if there are no fish in the pond, it doesn't matter because there's nothing there to catch. And we were talking about the incredibly low search volume that's out there right now. I was just showing a guy in Virginia, and I'm like, here's the data on your area. Past 30 days, there have literally not been any searches that Google can record, because Google will show you the search volume for certain terms and stuff. In 30 days, there's not been anybody searching for home inspections in your area.
That's right.
90 days, it was magic. It's 7 people, so an ad or great SEO, none of that's really going to fix the fact that in some areas, a lot of areas, unfortunately, right now, there's just not enough search volume. And if there's 7 people searching for home inspections, I'm going to guarantee you 6 out of those 7 are going to be your competitors, seeing why they're not coming up on Google or where all the work went.
Right. So. It's true. And home inspection is an industry that is volatile as far as, with the different industries, service industries we've worked with Google Ads. There's a lot of different factors that affect, and let's face it, macroeconomics right now affects every industry. So there's a lot of different factors that go into it, but again, we're not magic. I can't make people do searches online. All I can do is present your business, same way you do, present your business in the best light when they do, and we try to take advantage. One thing was back when the inventory would dry up, your competitors don't go away. So it's the same number of competitors fighting for a smaller number of leads, so the leads would be more expensive. Most of our clients understood that, but sometimes clients would be like, hey, my acquisition was $43 for all these months, or $45 or whatever per job, and now, all of a sudden the acquisition's all the way up to $65. And you have to have the conversation. Do you want the lead, or do you want to let someone else get it? Because that's the price that we're getting it at. There's nothing I can do. And there's not enough leads to really be picky and say, we'll take a lower bid strategy here and see if we can't get it for cheaper. We're just going to miss all of them.
Yeah. So let's take that into consideration as we talk about Google Local Service Ads, because this is a great program. You may try it and say, well, Jason and Ian, they didn't know what they were talking about. It didn't work for me. We still can't make the searches appear. But if there are searches in your area, this is one of the best ways to grab people. So Google Guaranteed Ads, Google Local Service Ads, we're going to use those terms interchangeably. They're technically Google Local Service Ads, but colloquially they're called Google Guaranteed Ads, because that's how they first presented themselves. Is one day I was online and I go, what's that little bubble that says Google Guaranteed? And then it went away. And so they were just beta testing it to see how people reacted, so they were giving it to a small subset of people. And then Google's like, oh yeah, that works really, really well. So give us a brief overview, Jason, and then maybe we could do a step-by-step of how guys can get into this.
Sure. So the local service ads themselves have been around for years, maybe 6, 7 years. I mean, don't quote me, but they came out not too long after I started in this industry. They appear at the very top of the SERP, or search engine results page. So a user types in a phrase or a keyword into Google, hits enter. The next page you land on is the SERP, or search engine results page. The Google Guarantee are little boxes at the very top. It's not the same as Google Ads. You don't get all the descriptors and headlines and everything else. But the deal is that Google vets these companies to make sure you have all the proper insurances or licenses for the area, and then they'll show you at the very top of the page. They have a pretty good cost per lead. In the past, I've been able to beat the cost per lead, but right now, especially in home inspection, I don't think we could. I don't think Google Ads would be beating it. It's not to say you don't want to use it as part of that marketing pie that you have, but these local service ads, now that they're available, I think that you would be remiss for not at least trying them. And I think that you're going to see that these can help carry through some slow times if there is any search volume at all.
Okay, so I have like a litany of questions from both myself and users because I'm not using Google Local Service Ads personally right now. Okay. So, like average dude out there, just kind of single inspector, just randomly in the U.S. somewhere maybe, how much are they paying for the average lead? $50? $100?
So I have a client right here. He's in, or not a client, but a friend in Miami. He's had 12 leads this month, and he's paid $756. And it looks like he has booked 8 of the 12. Average cost per lead is coming right in at $63. Now, that's in contrast to last month. Last month, I'm sorry. Average cost per lead was $63. And then, if I go back for January, let's see. But this is a busy market. Miami hasn't faced a lot of the problems that other markets have. So, sorry, I'm trying to make it cooperate, and it doesn't want to.
That's okay. I think that kind of answers our question of giving us a ballpark. So plan on spending at least around that. Now remember, we're talking about Google Local Service Ads. They're very different than Google Ads themselves. So to kind of help us make a delineation, we talked last time about the difference between SEO and Google Ads. Now the difference between Google Ads and Google Local Services. Google Ads are, here's an ad, your business, describes your business, and people can click on it and brings them typically to your website. Correct. Google Local Service Ads are more like, I hate relating it to them, but a better version of Home Advisor. So we would pay Home Advisor, you send us a direct lead. This person we know is looking for a home inspection. Hate them or love them, I actually did okay with, Home Advisor in the earlier days when it was Service Magic and then Home Advisor, and then Now it's Angie. But this is a way better version of it because it's Google. So people don't have to go to Home Advisor and then go through Home Advisor. They find you on Google, and then it gets a direct connect to you. But the advantage is you're paying for the lead, right? So you can actually contest that lead. Like you get somebody that was looking for building code enforcer. That's probably the most common one. You can say, hey, this was a bad lead and get your money back, hypothetically.
And the second most common is calling for a competitor. I was looking, while you were talking, I was looking to see a lead that could be disputed. There's three dots in the top right-hand corner. You can dispute the lead, and they give you about 5 or 6 choices as to why you can dispute it. You don't have that service offering in your listings. It's a competitor. It was a spam or a robocall. It was a duplicate call. So sometimes, in digital marketing, a client will call you. They don't write down the number or whatever, and they go and do another search. And most people don't realize whether it's an ad or not. They're not really paying attention to that. If they see your name, they're looking for you, they're going to click on it. So if it's a duplicate, you can dispute it as well. I have to say, Google's, I don't talk Google up very often. They are the best way to generate online service leads. But the Google local service ads, they seem to have really given you a lot of options so that you can get a good cost for your services. We use it in the HVAC industry, and we've been using it for years because it's been available. And we're seeing right now cost per lead there is only $27 for a service lead. So, and that's a good contrast. Previously, or maybe in the summer, my service leads won't come that cheap for HVAC. But if the housing market was to improve, your cost per leads will go down. Mine will go up based on different factors. But yes, you can dispute anything that you don't want. I think the best thing about this system is it is so easy. You do not have to pay. You don't have to be savvy on the computer. You don't have to get Google certified. You do not have to pay someone to set this up or maintain this. The most work that goes into this is listening to the call, and if it's good, you mark it as booked. If it isn't, you mark it as disputed, or every so often we have to eat the cost of one. But you go through and toggle the services that you want. So when you're setting up your profile and your budget, which is very easy, you go to ads.google.com/local services. Typically, I'll sign into Google before I do it, but that's how you find Google local service ads. You can turn them on or off. Go ahead.
Hang on one second, because I really want to make sure everybody heard that website address. It's ads.google.com/local-services.
No, sir.
Ads.
I don't use the hyphen. I get there just by going /local services and then hit enter.
Okay. So, I guess there's a couple different ways that you can get there.
So. It's Google. So.
Yeah, so either way, however you get there, that's going to be the URL structure that you're going to use. So sorry to interrupt. I want to make sure everybody heard that.
No,
because that's where the whole journey is going to begin. So please continue.
So when you're setting it up, you're going to have to go through a vetting process. If there's licenses or insurances that are required in your area, you're going to have to show that you have those. There used to be a Google rep that used to come out physically to meet with you. The last, 3 years or whatever, it's all been digital. We send our licenses over. We send our insurance paperwork over. You choose your zip code. You show them your web page. You give them a phone number, and then you choose where you want to advertise. How much geography you want to advertise in. They let you put a bio in here. So some of the things that are here: beat or match price, free estimate, on-time guarantee, professional service, weekend appointments by request. So you can put up value propositions that try to set your company apart from other companies. And then you get into the budget section. So Google always suggests budgets for you. It has been my standard practice to tell you that we're not going to spend what Google wants us to. I once had a client that was spending $30,000 a month in their market, and every day I woke up to below budget. You need to spend more. But so you set your budget. My advice to you is set your budget much higher than you plan. Personally, at work, my budget's set at $1,534 a week. And right now, because of low volume, we're spending about $125 a week. So we're not even getting close. Now, the danger of that is if you set the budget that high, Google has the ability to spend that much. The reason that I set it higher than what I want is because in my experience of playing with the budget to see what we could get, I found that Google rewards us because we're willing to spend more. And I would say that it's like that across most Google properties, honestly. You won't find that in documentation, but that's experience talking. If you're willing to spend money with Google, they help you out a little bit more.
So I guess for a guy setting up their account, we may have a smaller budget. Maybe we have $400 a month we want to spend, $100 a week. So we're looking and saying, man, if I put $500 a week, what happens if they spend all that? My thing is, listen, if you're getting an 80% close rate out of those because they're good, solid, hot leads,
right.
Awesome. So the worst case scenario is now you have more work.
Right. I've managed to talk to a few multi-inspector firms this week. One's just a friend, and another one had some questions. And I started asking if they use the local service ads. Both of them do. And what they were telling me was both said they had somewhere around a 60 to 75% close rate. Now, I don't know if that's the newness. I don't know if the local service ads get better and better as you mark some as booked and dismiss some. Maybe the algorithm starts picking up on that and saying, okay, well, they don't want these kind of leads, and maybe you'll see a better close rate. This is relatively new for the home inspection industry. I think, to my knowledge, maybe 6 months is what it's been available, if that.
Yeah, I don't even know if it's been that. I was going to guess maybe more around 4 months, because I think they started testing because they test in an industry before they go into it.
Yes, that's a beta.
Yeah.
And when you get a call from local service ads, the phone says you're receiving a call from Google. So as a business owner, if you noticed that suddenly you've gotten a bunch of these calls, it's as simple as logging on to that and looking to see how much you've spent, and then you can cut your budget down if you feel like you're running it. But kind of like what you said, why would you? If you're closing these leads, and these leads are solid, if you're closing these leads, why would you want to shut your budget down? I would take a job with less profit margin than sitting at home if I'm a home inspector. You know what I'm saying? There has to be a threshold. I'm not going to go out for free. I'm not going to go out for a loss. I'm not going to go out for $10. But as long as the leads are at $63, this particular friend, I believe his average home inspection with the ancillaries and everything else is about $465. So if he's paying $63 for a lead, there's still $402 on the bone. Of course, there's overhead and everything else, but I would take that. I would go do that job.
And there's something that we have to remember, too. So we like to talk about lead generation as marketing a lot of times as a broad stroke. It's one of the pillars of marketing. There's lead generation, there's advertising, there's networking. There's all different types of marketing. Lead generation is unique to itself. You get one lead, but very likely you can market that lead to get more. So every inspection that we perform is a marketing opportunity. I get generally 2 agents watching me perform an inspection, and then my client watching me perform an inspection. If somebody said, hey, do you want to sit in front of some first-time homebuyers and agents and demonstrate an inspection? Heck yeah, I'd pay money to do that. So this is paid advertising is what I tell people. You get in there, you do a good job, you're likely going to get at least 1 or 2 of those agents referring you for years to come. Family members and friends from the client that you just inspected for. So don't view it as, I got this one end result. I got this one lead.
Right.
What did that one lead turn into? What did that inspection turn into? So
that's not even counting referrals.
Yeah, it doesn't count referrals. It doesn't count anything else. If we're not marketing on our inspections, handing out a business card, following up with everybody, talking with everybody, doing an amazing inspection, lead generation is just going to be a dead end road for us.
One thing before you move on, I'd like to say something.
Yeah.
I've worked with a lot of home inspectors, and one of the things that I heard over the years that I really thought was smooth was a particularly good home inspector, I won't name, used to go up to the realtors and say, I'm sure you already have a solid home inspector, but do you have a solid backup inspector? And the reason that he did that was he disarmed the agent. If you go up to the agent and you say, hey, I'm the best home inspector you've ever seen, I'm better than the guy you have, which nobody would do, but even if your message is that, the agent is going to be defensive, especially if they have a good relationship with their home inspector. But typically, you disarm the agent when you go to them and you say, I know you have a great home inspector already. I'm sure someone like you does. Do you have a solid backup? What if they get too busy, or what if they go on vacation? And you disarm them. It's ingratiating, if you will. And he told me that he picked up, what would end up happening is they would end up using him as a secondary source. And then oftentimes, the relationship between a home inspector and an agent can sour for one reason or another, and then he was the next one to step up and fill that slot, and he didn't do anything ethically wrong.
I guess you have to be careful how you present. I think that's a fantastic idea, but how you present that. Hey, do you have a home inspector already? Oh, no? Well, how about a solid number 2? You just have to be careful how you present that.
I don't know. I think a lot of people enjoy a solid number 2. You know what I mean? I'm just guessing here, right? We could take a poll or something.
Yeah, exactly. But now getting back on track. No, that's a great idea. And that's the thing. Marketing is not so direct, and not every lead is closed directly and immediately. And I think that's the problem is I've had leads that I've worked for years and then eventually turned into something. It doesn't mean I spent all my time on it, but I never said that lead's dead and moved on. I always say, okay, well, I can follow up on that lead in 6 months. Let me make a note, something like that.
Right.
But the point I wanted to make about the cost per leads, we're saying around $60-some-odd right now. But it's always going to be, as you mentioned before, a product that's, supply and demand. If there's 1 million leads out there, they become cheaper.
Sure.
But right now, when there's less leads, yeah, exactly. Less diamonds on the market, diamonds are going to be more expensive, and vice versa. So keep that in mind. You may start this up and say, hey, Ian and Jason told me it was going to be about this much, but now it's 120. It's like, oh, okay. This is not an ad group either for you if you are not listening to this podcast and charging $199 or $250 for a home inspection.
Yeah.
If this doesn't illustrate why you should raise your prices, I don't know what else to tell you, because we should have enough room in our prices to accommodate acquisition costs. That's part of doing business.
Yeah, I was going to say that is a fundamental part of doing business. When you deal, I don't mean to disparage anyone, but I talk bluntly and I talk what I think is honestly. Oftentimes we have small businesses where the person is great at doing the business, but maybe not a great business owner. It's not to say that they can't learn. It's not to say they can't get there. But, there are times where I have interviewed potential clients, small business clients, and what I'm doing there is a gap analysis. This is where you are. This is where you want to be. And it's important for me to know both of those, because that would tell me what technique I have to use to help get you there. Now we need to know what kind of time frame you're looking at. Is it realistic, so that I can set the correct expectations? And I ask questions during that process. What is your acquisition cost right now? What does it cost you to get a home inspection? What is your average home inspection worth to you? I understand what your bare minimum is. The average across the country is $325. So I understand what your minimum is, but you offer ancillaries. So what do you normally bring down? And it's disconcerting when business owners are like, I don't really know. If you're not on top of your numbers, who is? You're the business owner. And if you're a small business owner, I doubt that you have a lot of people on the in-between, right? Between you and the actual bank account. So those are things that you got to focus on. All the marketing in the world won't help you if you're not handling your figures right. If you don't know what it's costing for an acquisition, if you don't know what your average cost is. These are important things. And these also influence whether people like marketers want to work with you, unless the marketer is desperate. And the last thing you really want is a desperate marketer.
Yeah, exactly. A desperate out of work doctor and a desperate out of work marketer are the two people you don't want.
That's right. But I would like to talk about the service offerings that they give through Google Local Service Ads. It's as simple as toggling it on or off. Okay. If you're going on vacation, there's a main toggle. You can turn it off or you can turn it on. So the ad doesn't run. But if you want to focus on certain things, so I can go through the listings here. It says buyer seller inspection, commercial properties, electrical, fire safety, fireplace and chimney, foundation, full home inspection, HVAC, mold, home warranty, new construction, plumbing, structural, well or septic, wooden insects, water testing, roof, mold, and other. So my advice is to stick with aiming at the full home inspections. That's where you get the full price. Sell some of these ancillaries if you offer them, upsell them when you're in the home. But when you're doing this at $63, like here down in Florida, and other places in the country, they do 4 points and wind mitts. That's kind of standard or popular. But we wouldn't want to pay a $63 acquisition fee for a wind mitigation when you're only getting $150 for that wind mitigation. You know what I'm saying? So in this particular county has almost everything toggled off with the exception of full home inspection, buyer-seller inspection, and commercial properties. That way, this particular home inspector feels that they're going to get the most bang for their buck. And at $63 a lead, I agree with them. I'm totally on board with that.
So I have to really make a point there. I think the mistake that guys make with Google local service ads are the same mistake they make with Google ads in general. They see those, yeah, I'll do a foundation inspection. Yeah, I do wood destroying insect. Yeah, I do new construction. The problem is you're doing all those keywords, and you're going to end up with a lot of leads you don't want. So wood destroying insect, okay, but now are you going to get a lot of pest treatment leads? Right. Or are you going to get a call from a little old lady who has a skunk in her attic? New construction, you're going to be getting a lot of code enforcement leads. Yep. Mold, you're going to get a lot of mold remediation. You're going to get a lot of leads that you don't want, even if you do those services. So ignore them, because oftentimes we try to set too wide of a net, and we may even sit there, I haven't had a lead in 3 weeks. I got to turn on the other ones. Well, all right, now you're fighting with bad leads instead of no leads.
The last thing you want to do,
I don't see the advantage of that.
The last thing you want to do when revenue flow is slow is spend revenue on something that's going to get you a portion of what you're used to getting or nothing at all. Just like you said with the Google ads, we don't spread the net just because things are slow. We stay focused, and that keeps the budget focused. That's one of the ways that we control the budget, is not to throw such a wide net. And how frustrating. You get these calls that you're paying for. You can't dispute it. You have it toggled on. You can't dispute it. And you paid $63 for it. What would you get for a WDO inspection? What would you get for a deck inspection? What would you get for a well? I do want to touch upon one thing, mold. I've seen mold. Now, this is from Google ads and not Google local service ads, but it's sort of the same mentality. It is very hard to advertise for mold inspection because most places where mold is common, you're fighting mold remediators. A mold inspection gets you, what, $400 or $500 typically? A mold remediator gets about $2,500 or more for the remediation. What does that mean? That means they can pay a higher cost per acquisition to get that job than the inspector can because there's higher revenue attached to it. I've only seen mold campaigns work for inspectors in 2 markets ever. And then in both of those markets, mold remediators came in, drove the cost per click up so high that we couldn't do it. At one point, cost per click for mold inspection, remediation words taken out of there, mold inspection was 26 something. So even if if you close every other click, which is really unheard of, you're still paying $50. So you're paying 10%. That's reasonable, but you don't close every other click. And no matter who you have managing your ads or anything, it doesn't work that way. That's just not the way it does. Yeah. But I did want to touch upon that just because mold's one of those ones where that's a hard one to fight against.
So it's the same thing with pest. So I had a guy one time, he's like, I really want to advertise pest. And I said, okay, there's these large national companies in this area, and he had one page on his website dedicated to pest. And I'm like, dude, we're going into a machine gun fight with an unsharpened pencil. Yeah, not even. And he's like, and I explained that same thing to him. I'm like, listen, these guys are spending, some of them tens of thousands of dollars a month on ads, marketing, entire websites with dozens, if not hundreds of different funnels. And you want to, with one page on your website, fight them. I'm like, we can do it, but we're going to have to change your entire website. And we can do it, but it's going to take time and money.
Yeah.
Now home inspections, if you're in a market fighting a 100 inspector firm, they can only take up one slot. But I've seen markets where you have like 15, 20 different big pest companies, and the life of their client is going to sometimes be tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars because they're doing mouse and termite and preventative treatment, yearly treatment. Mm-hmm. Yep. So to compete on that for a $400 pest inspection, that's not a lot of. There's a lot of squeeze and not a lot of juice.
Right. Well, just to further that point, I worked with a pest company down in Texas, and great person, small company. Really I was really motivated to do a great job for him. I had worked with other pest companies and done very well, but that area down in Texas, and the money just kept going out, and we weren't getting quality leads. We were generating calls, but they weren't quality leads. And I wouldn't say that his market was super saturated, but those guys are willing to pay a lot of money. So if I'm dealing with a pest company, this is what he did, and we're having problems competing. Imagine how hard it would be to compete if pest is just an ancillary that you're offering. It's just not profitable. Yeah. Most times it's not going to be profitable. It's going to end up losing you money. Sell it when you're in the house.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Focus on our primary service, because home inspections, that's a doable market to be in. Don't try to go after like foundations. You mentioned that before in your list. There's foundation companies out there, and they're fighting hard. And it's just big money, like marketing teams of people and thousands of dollars a month. That's a lot to keep up with for something that for us is not a quality lead compared to what they get.
Right.
But anyways,
right.
I have a couple of questions for you, though, because I'm on the Google Guaranteed Google Local Service Ads page. So you've kind of gone through it. It sounds pretty simple. You sign up kind of like you would for a lot of lead generation companies. You give them your information. They're going to ask you for all this stuff. You're basically telling us turn on full home inspections and maybe just leave it at that. But I notice on their website they have a section where you can choose between having it say Google Guaranteed or Google Google Screened. What's the difference? Which one's better? Google Guaranteed is for service-based businesses apparently, so for us home inspectors, whereas Google Screened is for
e-commerce.
Education, wellness services, and things like that.
Okay, yeah. So again, having people in your house, but maybe for a slightly more personal or different reason, that would make sense.
Yeah, so I think this just illustrates the program is still so new, only a few years old, and in Google terms, it's very, very new.
Sure.
But at the same time, it's always changing. I did not see this. I meant to ask you today, and apparently it's that new that we're not really.
And it's funny
and if you're a service-based business, you wouldn't have noticed because they just kind of just stick.
No, and once you have it, once you're set up, you're worried about, do I need the leads or don't I? So we run electrical and HVAC, but we only have one master electrician. We only have one electrician, so he has a lot of vacation time. Last year he went to Europe, so he was gone for like 3.5 weeks. So I still wanted the HVAC leads, but I shut down as many of the electrical leads as I could. And here's something, I doubt that this would affect home inspectors, but just in case, let me share this. So the only way for me to shut down completely the electrical leads, I turned all the toggles off, but we were still getting general electrical search terms. Our ad was shown for them. We were getting clicks. We were just eating them, because my only option was to remove electrical as a service offering, and then when he came back from vacation, resubmit for the vetting process. I'd had to resubmit my license, resubmit the insurances and everything else. So we took the hit. Ironically, once he was on vacation and all the toggles were turned off, we started getting a bunch of leads, because that's Murphy's Law. But I just wanted people to know. Now, you do have the option at the very top of your interface. Your ad is on. You will receive leads during the times you scheduled. You click that and turn it off, and you're done. You're not going to be getting leads. So you can turn it off. You're going out of town. You have enough leads. You can't service more leads. Nobody wants to pay for leads they can't service. So I think, in a nutshell, this gives the flexibility and the ease of use where you don't have to bring other people in. And for businesses that are struggling, for small businesses that are just getting started, this is really, I think, an excellent opportunity. And then for the businesses who have been around for a while, or the businesses who are bigger, larger, they have multi-inspectors, this should be a slice of your pie. The marketing, there is not one marketing leg that will support your business forever. Google Ads is excellent. Sometimes it doesn't work that well. Google Local Service Ads drives great leads. Sometimes it doesn't drive leads at all. It's dry. So if you have all of these different slices of the pie, and I think of it that way because that's how I report it to my superiors, that's really what makes a healthy marketing profile, is to have all these different things that you're doing to keep you out there, maybe build your brand, just a lot, lead generation. There's a lot of reasons to market, and I think sometimes some business owners get too focused on singular things. They rely on one thing too much, or solely, really, maybe not too much, but solely. And then if that particular channel has a problem, now we're suffering.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the illustration you used is 3 legs of a stool. And we won't get into the whole process, but you can't just have one leg. Your stool's not going to stand up. Yeah. And it's funny, as I'm looking at Google Local Service Ads, they actually have a cost estimator, and your numbers are right on. So, for instance, I put in my address or my zip code. It told me that my leads are $22 are going to be the average. I'm like, hey, that sounds cheap. But then I entered in Miami, and it told me it was going to be about $63 exactly was the low number that they gave. So you were right on to the dollar on those. So it depends on where we're at, how many leads are around, how hot the competition is, a lot of different factors. But if my market, apparently $22 will get you a decent lead.
Yeah, and
that'd be nice.
And I'm telling you, if your process on the other end of this, I deal with, when I was a marketer, I dealt with delivering leads. Some people didn't understand. I don't deliver sales. I didn't pitch the client. I don't know the prices. I just deliver the leads. So if your process on the other end is reliable and good, with the other inspectors that I've talked to, they're closing 60 to 75% of their leads. A 75% close rate, short of referrals, 75% is fantastic. I couldn't tell you right now another marketing channel where you would see that kind of close rate. So, and this is coming from other inspectors. And again, just like I said, the last one, I'm not trying to be hired on. This is certainly not something you need to hire somebody on. I'm not trying to be hired on. So this is all the information just as plain as I can lay it out. There's no ulterior motive to it or anything else. But I think that if you should add this to your arsenal, even if you're already set it up. That way when things slow down, or if they slow down, if they're not currently slowed down in your market, you have something you can toggle on to help offset.
Okay, so if I could just review everything that you've told us here. Number 1, go to ads.google.com/local services. Start the process. You can sign up there. You can also see the approximate cost of your lead using their cost estimator there. I picked the middle number personally. Then go through their whole process. Choose just full home inspections, and then put your budget super high because you're never going to hit that. If there's 8 leads in the area, you're not going to spend $2,000 in a week because there's only 8 leads.
Sure.
So, and set it high. And then keep track of everything. Have a good script.
So hold on.
Keep track of everything.
Let's stop right there with the keep track of everything because I didn't touch that. You have a report in here. It shows all of the leads. It shows the calls. You can listen to the calls. This is very, very handy, being able to listen to the calls, not just for the quality of lead and be able to market his book and teach Google, but we can all learn something from listening to our calls. In all the years that I trained salespeople, that was the most important thing, was evaluation, and even the best salespeople can get better. You listen to a call and you say, oh, man, I might have said something different there, or I should have maybe said something here. I wish I had said that, and that way the next time you know. But the reporting, you can see only booked leads. You can see all your leads, charged leads. You can click on them and listen to it. It is super important. You don't get that option with Google Ads.
Awesome. So I just want to kind of end this podcast here with just a note that Jason is helping us out with something, us as in the entire home inspection community, with a video series So when it comes out, check Facebook. Jason will have it on there. We'll make a little announcement here. Jason, if you remind me, we can make an announcement for you.
Sure, thank you.
He'll show you how to set up the ads, Google Ads related to that. He'll show you how to maintain your Google Ads. And that will be another slice of the pie that'll go in line with Google Local Service Ads, SEO, and whatever else, other online marketing that we're doing. But Jason, as always, you've rocked. Thank you so much for being on.
I enjoy it very much. Thank you for having me, Ian.
Thank you.